Hi guys, this is Hiro, and today I want to talk to you guys about being honest about your karma. Okay, so what do I mean by this? Well, we know that our ego has certain desires and certain ways that it wants things to play out, right, in our life. But we need to understand that our soul is the one that's choosing to take in birth, right? So, yeah, we have an ego to deal with and all this, but our soul has mainly come here to fulfill certain karmas, right, which includes certain desires to certain limitations and other things that we have to accomplish, right? Now, why am I bringing this up? Because most of the time, what our ego wants and what our soul wants karmically can sometimes clash with each other, right? Like, for example, our ego might want to hold on to a certain relationship forever, and our soul might say, hey, you know what, the karma with this person is done, and now you have to it's your karma to let go, right? And sometimes we don't really want to do this kind of stuff, so we need to basically be honest with ourselves, and we need to figure out what is our karma here, and then so that we can mentally prepare and not kind of give into the ego tricks, and so that we can make our spiritual evolution and journey here for this birth a lot easier, right? And just off the bat, some of the ways we can do this, just look at you can look at like your astrology chart, and then just kind of see certain planets placements like Rahu, Ketu, Saturn, stuff like this, Jupiter, and maybe even Moon, but to kind of just see where the karmic direction is heading, right? Also, one other thing I want to say, as we know in astrology, there's these things called dashas, right? And I think you guys all might know this. So basically, throughout certain times of our life, we're gonna have certain different karmas, right? Like our karmas when we're 20 and 30 is not going to be the same karmas as our 40s and 50s, right? Like if you're running Jupiter throughout your 20s and 30s, and then you start your Saturn, your karma might be completely different, right? So we need to also take that into effect here, right? Like don't get too attached. Okay, just because you figured out the karmas that you need to get going on now, don't get too attached to that. We want to basically make sure that we're able to transition into when the time is right, certain karmas that could be going on throughout the later stages of your life, right? Even at an antardasha level, right? Like I just discussed mahadasha, but even antardasha level, it can change very frequently, right? Like even less than a year, or some antardashas really long, last 2 or 3 years, right? But even that's even more of a more frequent change, right? So like every 2 to 3 years, at a more subtle level, you can say, there's going to be some kind of karmic changes occurring, right? Even pratyanta dashas, or even transits going on that are a lot quicker, right? Like there's always constantly new adaptations to karmas that we have to keep in mind, right? And that we have to be able to adapt to, okay? And so we just have to be mentally prepared for this, so that we can, be aware and, adjust our mindset in the right level, right? Now, one thing I want to keep in mind here is that also one other way to really check karmas is retrogrades, right? Retrogrades, we know, is when the planet moves backwards, kind of like around Ketu, or when a planet goes stationary. I just made a video on stationary and retrograde, but so I'm not going to discuss it too much here. But we know that those, when it's either when a planet is stationary retrograde in your chart, or when it's happening right now, the karmas are really strong, right? So we need to be able to adapt to those karmic changes, right? Like for example, if you need to fulfill this karma with a certain person, not necessarily even just relationship wise, right? Like I just said, but it could also be like just some kind of friendship or family or work, whatever, right? Also, it could be something that you need to do, right? Like for example, me making this YouTube video, me making YouTube videos in general, or you doing whatever you need to in your life, right? And this could be stuff for other people, stuff for yourself, like new diet, stopping alcohol, whatever, right? So we need to figure this out so that we can make the changes we need to make, right? Now, also, I kind of was touching base on astrology most of this video, but how also can we get in touch with our karmas, right? That's pretty easy. But what we need to do is just meditate, right? When we meditate and we get in more of a turiya like state, if you have a lot of practice with this, you can tap into this kind of state within 10 to 15 minutes. But if you're not, it's probably going to take a lot longer. But basically, if you just sit down, close your eyes, and just slowly accept your thoughts, and just breathe very consistently, you can say, and just just kind of, clear your mind in that way. Don't force your mind to be clear, right? Because if you're suppressing something, there's this quote, what you resist persists, right? You want to accept and kind of let go holistically and genuinely, not try to just stuff everything down and kind of just, artificially tell yourself that, your mind is clear when it's obviously not. You actually want to slowly let go and go through the work of releasing and, experiencing whatever thoughts and emotions you need to and dealing with them. But once you do that, you'll enter more of a through-your-like state. And once you do that, then you're tapped in with the divine, right? More a little bit, so you can be able to sense, okay, what am I, really supposed to be doing right now? Okay, and you want to do this consistently. Why? Because, like I said, your karmas are changing so frequently, right? You're probably starting new right the Antardesha is like every really often. Everything's constantly changing. Energies are changing. You might have been exposed to something, like even if you weren't consciously aware of it, but subconsciously that altered your consciousness, or subconscious that has affected your karmic path in some way. So meditating like that is basically going to allow us to basically just tap in and really sense the karmas we need to do, right? And one other thing, when you figure out what your karma is, do not let your ego get in the way and try to change that, right? Try to modify it to its little agenda, right? Like, we obviously, our ego's gonna throw thoughts and emotions and stuff like this. We want to accept them, right? We don't want to fight them. The worst thing we can do is try to fight the ego, right? You're never gonna win, most likely. It's just not very gonna stop, right? And it's gonna use that as fuel to further your anxiety and mental problems and all this. But whatever the ego does throw at you, we need to maintain that connection with the higher consciousness, in the sense of that, okay, we're not meditating 24/7 and like that, but we need to just slightly have that connection, so just enough so that we can hold on to that vision that was given to us when we were meditating, and then accept and let go of everything else that the ego is trying to throw at us, right? So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that shows one of the importances of why it's important to meditate more on a more frequent basis, right? It's because of that. It's to that maintain and strengthen and possibly expand that connection you have with the divine upper consciousness, right? Like if you don't do that, that possibly connection could go away and wither, and then you're just left with your connection to the material world, which is going to be a little bit of a detriment to your spiritual journey, at least in the short term, okay, and possibly even in the long term too. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to cover today. Just the fact that just be aware of your karmas, right? And then also one other thing, just be realistic about your karmas, okay? So it might not be your karma necessarily to save the world and stuff like that, right? The material world has conditioned us to really how do I say this? Like, really, if you're not like the number one person in whatever you're doing, you're a loser, and all this kind of stuff, right? You're like there's always someone being better than you and all this kind of stuff. We want to accept and let go of those thoughts, right? We have certain limitations of our karma. It might not be, my karma, for example, to be the number one, spiritual person in the world, or number one astrologer person, or whatever, right? But it is my karma to at least do this and, spread my message to whoever I can, right? And help whoever I can, right? Just understand there's certain limitations to your karma, right? Like, I'm not married right now, right? But I might get married, maybe in the next 5 or 10 years, throughout my 20s and maybe in my 30s. But it might not be in my karma to have the exact person of my dreams come at the exact time in the exact place, whatever, right? Or same thing if I have children, right? It might not be in my exact karma to have them be exactly, the way I have going on in my mind, right? So we need to just accept that limitation to that karma. It might not be in my karma to, be a millionaire and all this, right? It might just be in my karma to live a more humble, simple life. From an ego standpoint, I just have to accept the thoughts and emotions related to that, okay? So I hope this made sense and really helped you more on your spiritual journey, possibly just to focus more on your karma and be aware of your limitations of karma and accept whatever thoughts and emotions your ego throws at you and let go of those, okay? So if you have any thoughts or questions or comments or anything like that, you can let me know. And until next time, talk to you guys later. Thank you for watching.